Hello, and thank you for watching this video. My name is Gemma Medina, and I'm speaking from Eindhoven in the Netherlands, where I live and work as a curator, art historian, and researcher educator. And as a long-term collaborator of the Association of Arte Útil, I'm very excited today because we got the chance to have a conversation with Angela Oduor Lungati, that is in Nairobi. Angela is the executive director of Ushahidi. Ushahidi is a web platform tool that was initiated by Juliana Rotich and David Kobia in 2008, and it's included into the Arte Útil archive. So thank you, Angela, for being today here. And just to start the conversation, I just wanted to ask you if you could introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your involvement with Ushahidi and how you got in touch with the project.
Absolutely, and thanks again for reaching out. It's an honor to be included in the archive. So, as you mentioned, my name is Angela Oduor Lungati. I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya. I describe myself as a technologist, a community builder, and open source software advocate who is passionate about building and using appropriate technology tools to impact the lives of marginalized groups. I'm the executive director at Ushahidi, which is a global nonprofit tech company that helps communities to quickly collect and share information that enables them to raise their voices, inform decisions, and influence change. I've been with the organization for just over a decade. I became a member of Nairobi's Innovation Hub during the launch in March 2010, and that's where I met the Ushahidi founders and began volunteering with the organization. I joined the team in 2011 as a software developer and spent the bulk of my career and my time at Ushahidi working directly with users who are using our tools, trying to help them gain value in that relationship and helping them to leverage the tool before I took over as executive director in 2019. So that's essentially how I got to be a part of the team. Just joined in very early on as a volunteer and have risen up the ranks over the last decade.
Great. And just to help me to understand better about how the platform works, so what does Ushahidi do and how does it work? And thinking, just to add a little bit more to the question, thinking into the long trajectory that it already has, how has changed the use of the platform and how important are the users in that evolution?
Yeah, so the flagship product, which is actually named after the organization, the Ushahidi platform, is a tool that's used by individuals, NGOs, nonprofits, and enterprises to rapidly gather, analyze, and act on data that is collected on the platform to strengthen communities and help people thrive. And the way it works is it enables efficient data collection via different streams. We have SMS, email, Twitter, smartphone applications, and the web. And most recently, we have USSD. So that aspect really captures how we collect data on the platform. The next step is that it helps people understand what's happening on the ground with a near real-time feed of data, really helping with efficient data management. The third thing is that it also helps with visualizing events as they unfold, and then also enable effective response. So you not only collect it, but then you're also able to figure out where it needs to go, and then also have a visual representation of what exactly is happening in different pockets of the region that you're collecting the data from. Some statistics: the platform has been used in over 160 countries since inception in 2008, gathering over 50 million reports to advance democracy, report incidents, mobilize for crisis response, simplify research, encourage activism, address challenges, and influence change. I think when the founders launched the platform, at that point, the thought process was really, we have a problem in our community and we need to figure out a way of becoming a part of the solution. And it just so happened that it was around the time when we're seeing the emergence of tools like Twitter and platform for self-expression. And so it did herald this concept of engaging with ordinary people, not only as passive recipients of information, but people who can become a part of the solution, people who can inform decisions being made by directly sharing what their lived experiences are. And so that's why I think that the users are very, very important when we think about the evolution over time, because it's really shifted the way we think about information flow. So it's no longer just a top-down approach, but really harnessing the collective intelligence of ordinary people, listening to what their lived experience is without making assumptions, and having that voice around what their experience is, then go on to decision makers, and ultimately also help the decision makers serve them better. Gamma, I don't think I can hear you. I think you're on mute.
Oh, that's right. So I was already speaking. So I was telling that I was thinking while you were telling this, that in fact you were mentioning that one of the most fundamental points is that you have shifting as well the way that information flows. And I was wondering, because in fact it started as a response to a specific problem, as a civic response, and in a way has gained a very strong symbolic character, because as you mentioned before, it's a tool that in a way influence social transformation, influence a change, the possibility of change. And I think that in fact has transformed not just this idea of how we access, produce and use the data, but as well, just from the top of my head, I think that it has, like changed narratives, the conventional narratives, and breaking a lot of preconceptions about even the possibility of collaboration between different agents, like public offices or governments and independent organizations and the people on the streets. And as well, and that's intriguing for me as well, you have completely broken the stereotype of the high-tech industry in a way. So my question is, how do you deal with that symbolic power? I cannot hear you.
How can you hear me now?
Yes.
Wow. So I think I did it the other way around. Yeah, but I was just saying that that's a very interesting and powerful question, because I think what has happened over time is the realization of the responsibility that we hold as people who are building technology, right? There's such a huge responsibility that comes with all the impact that we've been able to see, and just understanding that this is actually bigger than us. So whether it's in the choices or the decisions we make as we build the tool, recognizing that this is bigger than us, and that whatever decision that I'm going to make is possibly going to influence somebody else's life beyond the person who gets access to the technology tool itself. And so what it's done is really served as the core of all the decisions we make in every single thing that we do, whether it's around the tools that we build, who we engage with, and who we partner with. Yeah, I think that would be my answer. We've really taken stock and internalized the power of the tool, and recognize that it gives us a huge responsibility, and that's something, there's a duty of care around how we build the tool, and also going beyond and enabling other users to also understand how to best make use of it, so they're also employing that duty of care with the beneficiaries that they interact with.
Yeah, interesting. And actually, this is a tricky question, because we always are speaking about the symbolic character of art, and the possibility of specifically thinking about the Arte Útil. We think a lot, or we highlight the possibility of transformation, this kind of inspiration that make us to think that it's possible, and we can really implement the change, let's say. So, and in your website, I have read that you said, like, and I'm quoting, "We create technology solutions that empower communities to build a better world." And my question is, could you think in Ushahidi as an artistic project?
That's another very interesting question. I don't think I've ever thought of it that way. But in many ways, maybe you could, because it's, I mean, there's the function of empowering people who traditionally don't have a voice, but then there's also an element of creativity around that, because aside from the use cases that I shared earlier, the typical crisis response, election monitoring, and corruption mapping, we've also seen the tool used in so many different and interesting ways that we've never thought about. One of the favorite examples I like using is somebody used the Ushahidi a number of years ago to map out the best burger joints in the world. That is creativity right there. And then there's also a group of children who've been using it to map out the cost of chicken. So in that and many other ways that I don't know about, I think you could think about it as an artistic project, because it does allow for creativity. It allows for people to take the tool and make it their own and find ways of solving problems in the way that they think, as opposed to the conventional way that people would think about it.
And that's great, because actually it connects with the next question that I wanted to ask you, that was about the authorship. So if we think in a way or speculate as Ushahidi as an artistic project, then how do you see the authorships around the project? It's like we could think that these users, activators of new deployments, could be considered as initiators of other projects.
That is absolutely correct. And the best phrase that I can use to describe that is a quote that one of the founders shared a couple of years ago. And we think of Ushahidi as Q and our users as 007. So we are not the ones going out to save the world, but we will give you the tools to do that. And so it's also recognizing that what we've done with our technology tools and the work that we do is enabled. It's providing the stepping stone, or being the shoulders, or being the giants on whose shoulders people can stand on. It just helps to elevate them and allow them to actually go out and create. So whenever you look at all of the different instances of Ushahidi, that is the users authoring and initiating a project around problem solving or creating impact. That is not us. It is them saving the world. We've just given them the tools and the know-how to go ahead and do it.
Wow, that sounds really great. Actually, I have seen that in the wake of the pandemic, the Ushahidi has been used as well in these terms to really generate this kind of networks of support, information, and giving this in a local, not just in a local, but in a national and international context. I just thinking about, I met personally and I followed the project, the Frena la Curva, the one that was developed in Spain. And I know there is another app like called Mahala. So I'm wondering, or I would like you, if you could elaborate how you support these initiatives.
Yes, so I think I'll start with just some background around what even led to people reaching out to us. I think at the point when WHO declared COVID a pandemic, there are several problems that were apparent. There were substantial information gaps, and of course, in that vacuum of credible information, there was a lot of misinformation getting spread around. Second thing is that lockdowns may have been effective in slowing down the spread of the disease, but then there were such far-reaching social and economic effects on people. People lost their livelihoods, people were stuck in their houses. But then the most important one is probably the fact that governments had limited capacity to respond. And so we got requests from literally every part of the world coming in simultaneously. And I think it spoke to this idea of empowering ordinary people to become a part of the solution. So what we saw was local communities springing into action, looking to use the Ushahidi platform as a way of trying to understand the pervasive impact of COVID-19, just keeping track of whether it's a number of cases, a positivity rates, etc., or trying to create visibility into where to access critical resources and services, much like what Frena la Curva was doing, or others just indicating there's this shop that is open at this time, you can get these supplies there. Filling information gaps for official response. So in some cases, having people at the time during the onset of the pandemic, trying to indicate places where there was inadequate testing, or just documenting people's testing experiences that would then go and inform, maybe you need to put up testing centers in this place and that. And also holding governments accountable for shortcomings in responding to the pandemic. So when I think about how we supported these initiatives, it's very much in line with what Ushahidi has been doing for all of these years, providing a platform that would empower ordinary people, allow for massive collection of data, empowering people who would ideally not have been heard before, and surfacing a lot of information that may have been difficult to surface before, and having that then influence decisions that are being made. So this was, in many ways, such a strong validation of Ushahidi's work, because it wasn't that it was being used in a different way. It was using it for exactly what we intended it to, but at such a massive scale and at such a critical time. Because when you think about, Ushahidi was born out of a crisis. That was the genesis of the platform, and it was by engaging ordinary people that we were then able to see some sort of change. And in the same way, even for COVID-19, the platform was used to empower ordinary people. It was people like yourself and I, not governments. It was somebody who was seeing something going wrong in the community and figuring out how they could become a part of the solution rather than waiting for somebody else to come in and save them.
Okay, so I haven't seen this in this way, in this time, like a crisis that got a global extension, and how Ushahidi has been used in this context. How could you imagine, or how you envision, the future of the platform? How do you think it will work in 10 years from now, for example?
Very pertinent question, just because we're also in the space of really thinking about what exactly is our future. And while thinking about where we've come from and where we are now, I think one thing that's very clear is that a lot of the problems that we've seen in society over the last couple of decades, they still persist. They haven't changed. And if anything, COVID-19 has come in and has also just exacerbated and undone many years of progress. So the need for platforms like Ushahidi will probably still be there for many years to come. I think the difference is because the technology landscape is changing. We are now having to put ourselves in a situation of thinking about what does the landscape look like? What are the needs of our users now versus what the needs of our users were back then? What tools are they engaging with? And how can we also make their lives easier or make their work much more efficient? So a lot of the conversations, at least on the product development side, are really around whether it's allowing for securer ways of collecting data and managing it, finding ways of automating the data management process to make it much faster for people to engage. Also looking at different tools for self-expression or channels that people are engaging with, whether it's voice, etc., and seeing how to plug that in. And then on the actual engagement side, one of the questions we've been asking ourselves, or even just from the experience we've seen, there's a huge function that technology plays in creating impact in communities. That's undeniable. But then there's still a question mark around the capacity that ordinary people have to leverage the technology itself. And so is there a role that we can play there? Over the last 5 years of our journey, we've also jumped into more community engagement and capacity building around how to deploy the platform. And so you're now pairing up, giving you the tool, but then also showing you how to use it. But even that is not enough, right? There's still the other cover around, do you have adequate resources? Do you have access to the right networks, the right volunteers, the right kind of funding? And so when I look at the next 10 years, it's really thinking about what more can we do that will help us advance that mission. If we really want to see the impact, what more can we be doing beyond providing the technology tool and building your capacity? Is it providing micro grants? Is it leveraging the network that we have? Is it more facilitation of shared learning? So that's where I see us kind of going. There'll definitely be an evolution on the product side, but the core still remains.
Well, I'm very impressed because I think that I wanted to thank you because I think that in a way you are putting together a lot of characteristics that are connected with the value of usership and how usership works. So we are always, with the Arte Útil archives in a way promoting its use. And I felt very identified with some of the questions that you are putting now on the table, thinking about the future. So I think that it's a very interesting approach to the whole idea of how, like we could provide tools to help others to really make change. And I think that's very connected with the idea of Arte Útil itself. So, and thanks a lot again. And please feel free to reach us if you want to use as well the platform of Arte Útil in any way. We will please to.
Absolutely. And again, thank you so much for having me. I'm hoping this was useful, and similar to you, in case there's anything at all that we can do, please feel free to reach out. We're happy to be a part of this network.